morning light spilled across the tarmac at Frankfurt International Airport, painting the silver wings of Flight 247 with gold. The engines hummed softly as passengers shuffled through the jet bridge, coffee cups in hand, half asleep, unaware that history was quietly boarding with them. In seat 14A, a woman sat quietly by the window, black leather jacket, aviator sunglasses, a single carry-on under her seat. She hadn't spoken a word since check-in. The crew noticed her stillness and the kind of calm that doesn't belong to ordinary travelers. She didn't scroll through her phone, didn't fidget with her seatbelt. Instead, she just watched. The runway, the sky, the planes, like someone who'd lived among them all her life. Her name on the boarding pass read, Elena Cross, but that wasn't her real name. As the flight attendants went through safety checks, she closed her eyes for a brief moment. The low murmur of the cabin faded, and memories crept in. The sound of a jet screaming through clouds, radio chatter, her own voice yelling, "Fox 2! Missile away!" She opened her eyes instantly, heart pounding once before she forced it back into rhythm. That was another life. One she had buried 3 years ago when she left the U.S. Air Force. Officially discharged, unofficially forgotten. Now she was just a civilian. Or at least that's what she told herself. The seatbelt sign dinged. The plane rolled forward. Cabin crew, prepare for takeoff. The engines roared to life, pushing the aircraft into the blue. The city below shrank into a pattern of gray and green. The world felt calm again, at least for now. 2 hours into the flight, turbulence rattled the cabin. Nothing unusual, except for the faint static that echoed through Elena's earbuds. It wasn't the in-flight channel. It was something else. Military-grade static, encrypted frequency. Her instincts sharpened instantly. She subtly adjusted her smartwatch, a custom interface not available to the public, and saw a flicker on the signal band. A distress ping, frequencies used only by NATO air operations. Her pulse quickened. No civilian aircraft should be picking that up. Then came the faint transmission, muffled, distant but unmistakable. "This is Falcon Lead to command. F-16 Bravo down. Repeat, Falcon 2 hit." "We've lost control over Baltic airspace," the voice broke off. Static filled the air. Elena froze. That call sign, Falcon Lead, her old squadron. Her throat tightened. The same call sign she once used to lead those pilots. The same frequency she thought she'd never hear again. Something was happening above the same flight corridor they were entering. She quickly looked outside. The clouds stretched endlessly. The horizon still peaceful, but her gut told her peace was a lie somewhere up there. Someone needed help. The captain's voice came over the intercom, calm and professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, we may experience some temporary communication issues. Please remain seated. Temporary communication issues." That was pilot language for something's wrong. Elena's hand tightened around her armrest. She turned slightly. The flight attendant nearby was busy, reassuring a nervous passenger. No one else seemed to notice the subtle left bank the aircraft took. The heading was off, and that's when she saw it. Just a flicker of movement outside the window. A shadow slicing through the clouds, fast, precise, military. Her eyes widened. Not one, but 2 fighter silhouettes, F-16s, but they weren't flying in formation. One was limping, tail smoking, struggling to maintain altitude. The other circled defensively as if guarding it, and both were dangerously close to their flight path. Her old training took over. She reached into her jacket, pressed a hidden switch on her smartwatch. The interface changed, now showing live radar feeds, residual frequencies, and an encrypted channel only she could access. The F-16 distress call was looping, and now a new sound emerged, the unmistakable growl of another jet, heavier, deeper. The A-10 Thunderbolt, the sound that once meant rescue on the battlefield. Her jaw tightened. Someone out there had called for help, and the Warthog was coming. But why here? Why now? Over civilian airspace. And why was she suddenly part of it again? She looked out the window one last time, her reflection shimmering in the glass. The face of a woman who'd sworn to leave the sky behind. But destiny, it seemed, had a way of calling pilots home. The cabin lights dimmed as Flight 247 climbed higher into the northern sky. The passengers laughed, ordered drinks, watched movies, blissfully unaware that outside their windows, a silent war was unfolding. Elena Cross, seat 14A, didn't blink. Her eyes tracked every movement in the clouds. She wasn't seeing vapor trails, and she was seeing patterns, maneuvers, formations, the kind that never belonged in commercial airspace. A low vibration trembled through the fuselage. Not turbulence, resonance, a shockwave from a jet afterburner. She leaned closer to the window, and then she saw it, a dark shape cutting across the sunlight, its twin tails glinting silver before disappearing into a bank of clouds. F-16, Fighting Falcon. Another flash followed. Fire. A flare, burning bright, spinning downward like a comet. Elena's breath caught. That wasn't a training flare. That was a countermeasure. Someone up there was being locked by radar. Then came the thunder, distant yet unmistakable. A sonic crack. Missile release. Her fingers instinctively curled into a pilot's grip. She could almost feel the stick in her hand again. Smell the oxygen mask. Hear the scream of a turbine behind her. But now she was trapped in a passenger seat, powerless, watching. The flight attendants exchanged nervous glances. One of them picked up the intercom, whispering something to the cockpit. Elena caught a single word: unidentified aircraft. Her heartbeat quickened. Civilian aircraft rarely shared corridors with military jets. If they were close enough to be seen, something had gone catastrophically wrong. She opened her smartwatch interface again, adjusting the dial to boost reception. The encrypted frequency flared to life. Falcon 2 is hit. I'm losing fuel pressure. Stay with me, Falcon 2, stay with me. Eagle Control. We have a hostile in visual range. Static ripped through the signal. Then another voice broke in. Heavier, grittier, carrying the unmistakable rasp of a Gu-8 Avenger cannon operator. This is Hog 1. Visual on your position. Engaging now. The A-10 Thunderbolt, the angel of the battlefield. The beast that arrived when all else failed. Elena's lips parted slightly. She hadn't heard that voice in years, but she knew it. Major Dean Riker, her old wingman. He'd saved her life once over Kandahar, flying straight into anti-air fire to pull her out. And now somehow he was here and above her in the same sky. Her breath trembled. Dean, she whispered under her breath. The cabin jolted suddenly. Passengers gasped. Overhead bins rattled. A baby started crying. The captain's voice returned, firmer this time. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm and seated. We're adjusting our course due to restricted airspace. Restricted airspace. That meant military conflict, and they were flying straight into it. Elena pressed the call button. The flight attendant hurried over, face pale. Ma'am, please stay seated. Elena leaned closer, her tone calm but commanding. I need to speak to the captain now. I'm sorry. That's not possible. Elena reached into her jacket and showed her retired Air Force ID card. Still marked confidential clearance, NATO Ops. The attendant froze. This is urgent, Elena said quietly. Tell your captain there are F-16s in distress and an A-10 engaging hostiles within 5 nautical miles of this aircraft. The attendant's eyes widened. How do you... Just tell him, Elena interrupted, voice steady as steel. She watched her go, weaving through the aisle, whispering to the lead steward near the cockpit. A minute later, the cockpit door cracked open slightly. A tall man in a pilot's uniform leaned out, confusion on his face. Elena stood, moved toward him with the quiet authority of someone who used to wear the same bars on her shoulder. He lowered his voice. Who are you? Elena Cross, former U.S. Air Force. I'm monitoring encrypted frequencies. You're flying through an active engagement zone. The captain blinked, stunned. That's impossible. We didn't receive... A flash of orange outside the window cut him off. The cabin glowed for a split second. A fireball. High above the clouds, every passenger gasped. Someone screamed. The captain turned pale. Good God. Elena didn't even flinch. She knew what she'd just seen. An aircraft hit midair. The F-16 that had been limping moments ago. Her voice dropped, calm but urgent. Turn this plane south. Now. The captain hesitated. We're not cleared for deviation. Elena grabbed his shoulder, her tone cold, sharp, and certain. Captain, if you stay on this vector, you'll be in the crossfire within minutes. He stared at her, the weight of her words cutting through disbelief. Then another transmission crackled faintly through the air, her smartwatch still picking it up. Falcon lead to Hog 1. We've lost Falcon 2. Hostiles still in pursuit. Civilian aircraft entering AO. Repeat, there's a civilian airliner in the kill zone. The captain's face went white. That's us, Elena nodded once, then you better trust me. The plane banked hard left. The passengers panicked. The engines roared louder as the pilots changed heading, pulling away from the conflict zone. Outside, far above them, a new silhouette appeared, enormous, fearsome, and beautiful. The A-10 Thunderbolt II twin engines, wide wings, Gatling cannon mounted like a dragon's jaw. It roared past the clouds, breaking formation, diving toward a distant speck, a hostile fighter. Then came the sound that froze Elena's blood. Brrrr. The Goat cannon unleashed a storm of titanium shells, ripping the sky apart. The hostile aircraft erupted in flame. Spiraling down, the A-10 leveled off, climbing back into the sunlight. And for the first time in years, Elena felt something deep in her chest, not fear. Not shock, it was recognition. She whispered softly, "You made it, Dean." But as the A-10 vanished into the horizon, a cold realization struck her. If Dean was here, fighting again, it meant this wasn't a random skirmish. Something far bigger was happening, something classified. And now she was caught right in the middle of it. The seatbelt signs flickered again as Flight 247 steadied on its new southern course. The cabin had fallen eerily silent. The passengers were shaken, but no one truly understood what had just happened outside that window. What kind of war brushed past them at 30,000 feet? Except Elena. She leaned back in her seat, face half lit by the dim cabin glow, heart still pounding with that familiar rhythm of combat adrenaline she thought she'd left behind. Her smartwatch display pulsed faintly. A new transmission. Falcon lead to command. Hostile down. Civilian airliner diverted. Request immediate support. Multiple bogies on radar. Unknown signatures. The voice broke, then came static, then silence. Elena frowned. Unknown signatures. That phrase didn't belong in standard combat language. Not unless the radar was picking up something that shouldn't exist. She tapped into the encrypted logs, rerouting through the last open NATO frequency her watch could access. The data feed was unstable, but one line of text managed to appear on her screen. Black signal detected. Origin unknown. Classified priority Omega. Her breath caught. Black signal. She hadn't seen that code since her final mission, the one that got her discharged. The one buried under layers of classified silence. 3 years ago, somewhere over the Syrian desert, her unit intercepted a rogue signal that jammed NATO satellites for 6 minutes. 6 minutes that led to 2 downed aircraft and a near-nuclear standoff. The official report said it was a malfunction. But Elena knew better. That was the black signal, an experimental cyber weapon designed to blind radar systems and hijack drone frequencies. It was supposed to have been destroyed, and now it was back. A faint metallic clatter broke her focus. The flight attendant had returned, pale and trembling. "Ma'am, the captain wants to know if you can help interpret something." Elena stood without hesitation. "Show me." The attendant led her to the cockpit where both pilots were tense, eyes darting between instruments. On the central display, a faint radar pulse blinked at irregular intervals. The captain pointed. "We're getting interference. Civilian systems shouldn't detect this at all." Elena stared at the waveform, identical to the one from the black signal incident years ago. She whispered, "That's not interference. That's a pulse weapon. Someone's scanning your avionics." The co-pilot looked at her, alarmed. "Are we in danger?" "Not yet," Elena said, eyes fixed on the screen. "But they're searching for something. Either a frequency or a target." The captain frowned. "A target? Like who?" Elena turned toward him slowly. "Like me." For a moment, the only sound in the cockpit was the soft hum of the engines. The captain stared at her, stunned. "You're saying someone's tracking you?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her expression said everything. The black signal wasn't random, it was personal. Elena returned to her seat, her mind racing. If the signal was active again, it meant someone had resurrected the old weapon, and the only people who could have done that were buried deep inside military intelligence. She opened the side compartment of her bag and pulled out a compact silver chip. Her retired mission data, drive, something she was never supposed to keep. She connected it to her watch. The screen flickered to life. Encrypted maps, mission logs, combat telemetry. All sealed. Until now. She decrypted the old file. Operation Phantom Line. Her eyes scanned the log. It detailed every moment of the day the black signal first appeared. But one phrase jumped out, one she had never noticed before. Secondary source. Falcon 2 telemetry cross-linked with civilian. Relay. Flight path encoded ID. Fel T247. Her blood ran cold. Flight 247, the same flight number she was on right now. It wasn't coincidence. This flight had been pre-mapped into a classified military system years before it ever existed. Publicly, she whispered under her breath, "They're not just near us. They're waiting for us." Outside, clouds churned like smoke. The sunlight dimmed to gray. The airliner crossed into an invisible storm. Electromagnetic static buzzing through the cabin. Screens flickered and the intercom crackled. Passengers stirred nervously. One man tapped his seat screen. "Hey, why'd the movie stop?" Elena's gaze snapped upward. She could feel it. The signal was scanning them. Her smartwatch beeped. 3 unidentified radar contacts had locked onto their position. Falcon lead to command, blackout. Confirmed, multiple radar ghosts. "They're jamming us." Static. Then came another transmission, clearer, deeper. One that made Elena's blood turn to ice. "This is Shadow Wing. Confirmed civilian vessel carrying target data. Initiate acquisition protocol." Her hand clenched into a fist. Shadow Wing. That was the name of the rogue unit responsible for deploying the black signal 3 years ago. The same unit the Pentagon swore didn't exist, and now they were back, hunting her flight, hunting her. Suddenly, the aircraft shook violently. The lights flickered. Gasps erupted all over the cabin. The captain's voice burst through the intercom, louder this time. "Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing a technical disturbance. Please remain seated." A jolt cut him off. The plane lurched again. Oxygen masks dropped from above. Elena gripped her armrest as the aircraft dipped sharply. She glanced out the window, and her heart stopped. A black triangular jet cut across the clouds, sleek and almost silent. No markings, no country insignia. It wasn't any standard fighter she knew. It was something experimental, and it was coming straight for them. Inside the cockpit, alarm screamed. Outside, the shadow jet rolled into position. Elena whispered to herself, voice steady despite the chaos, "So it's true. The black signal lives." The jet's wing glowed faintly red. Sensors powered up, and for the first time in 3 years, Elena realized that the past she'd buried wasn't done with her. It had found her again, 30,000 feet above the world, with 200 lives in her hands. The cabin tilted sharply as the autopilot struggled to stabilize the jet. Passengers screamed. Overhead bins burst open, sending luggage tumbling through the aisles. Outside, a dark silhouette hovered above the clouds. Silent, predatory, unnatural. Elena's training kicked in instantly. She unbuckled her seatbelt, stood up, and braced herself against the seatbacks as the plane shuddered again. "Ma'am, sit down," a flight attendant shouted. Elena's voice cut through the panic, cold and precise. "Everyone stay low. Keep your heads down." Something about her tone, that command in her voice, froze the chaos for a second. Even the crying softened as passengers looked at her. Confused but obedient, she pressed her smartwatch again, scanning frequencies. The display blinked red. Lock-on detected missile signature incoming. Her heart slammed in her chest. They were targeting the airliner. Inside the cockpit, alarms blared in rapid succession. "Radar lock," the co-pilot shouted. "They're painting us." "Who the hell are they?" the captain yelled, trying to pull the jet into a descent. Elena burst into the cockpit, grabbed the headset from the comm panel, and plugged her watch into the auxiliary port. "Give me access to your nav system." "Now," she barked. The captain hesitated, wide-eyed. "Who are you?" She glared at him. "Someone who can keep you alive." The co-pilot nodded quickly and handed her the control panel. Elena overrode the channel, tuning to the emergency defense frequency, a relic from her Air Force days, one most civilians didn't even know existed. "Falcon lead. This is civilian flight 247 declaring emergency. We are under radar lock. Possible hostile aircraft in pursuit." Static, then faintly. "Falcon lead copies. Civ 247, hold heading. We're coming." Elena's stomach twisted. Dean was still up there, and he'd heard her. The dark jet outside rolled into a shallow dive, almost ghost-like, no contrails, no sound. But Elena could see it. The shimmer of heat from its engines, the faint crimson glow from its wing pylons. That wasn't a standard aircraft. It was Shadow Wing tech, a prototype stealth interceptor designed for deep electronic warfare. Something she thought had never made it past testing. "Captain," she said sharply, "cut the transponder and go dark. No radio, no IFF signal. We'll lose air control visibility." He protested. "They already see you," she snapped. "Better invisible to everyone else than dead in the next minute." He hesitated, then flicked the switch. The radar beacon went dark. Flight 247 vanished from air traffic control. Outside, the shadow jet fired a burst of energy, not a missile, but a pulse. It rippled through the clouds like a silent thunderclap. Inside the airliner, lights died instantly, screens went black. Engines coughed. The hum faded. Every sound disappeared, except the faint rush of air over the fuselage. Total power loss. Passengers screamed. The oxygen mask swung wildly as the plane began to descend in eerie silence. "Mayday! We've lost both engines!" the captain yelled, flipping dead switches. Elena's watch flickered with static and then displayed the signal. The black pulse. She whispered, "They're disabling systems electronically." Like before. But before the memory of that last mission could drag her under, a new sound filled the air. A deep, thunderous roar, far below. The sound of salvation. The A-10 Thunderbolt cut through the clouds like an avenging angel. Twin turbines howled, and its broad wings gleamed under the sun. "Hog 1 to Civ 247, we have you visual. Hold steady." Elena grabbed the mic. "Dean, they've got a lock on us." A pause. Then his voice came through, steady and fierce. "You're damn hard to kill, Elena." She smiled. "Just for a second. Guess you still owe me that drink. Let's finish this first." The A-10 banked hard, lining up with the black stealth jet. The two aircrafts faced each other, David and Goliath. Old metal versus modern darkness. The shadow jet fired again. Another pulse, aimed at the A-10 this time. Dean countered instantly, diving low, letting the pulse skim above him. Then he pulled up and unleashed the fury of his Ju-8 Avenger. Brrrr! The sky exploded with tracer fire. Flames bloomed against the black jet's wing, tearing through its armor. But the shadow fighter didn't fall. It turned sharply, vanishing into a swirl of clouds like smoke dissolving into the horizon. Dean circled back, voice cutting through the comms. "It's not destroyed. They're testing something new. You need to land that bird now, before it comes back." Elena looked at the captain. "You heard him. Find the nearest strip and descend manually." "We can't. Systems are fried." "Then fly it like a glider," she said, sitting beside him, eyes locked on the horizon. "I'll guide you down." As the aircraft dipped beneath the storm layer, fragments of sunlight pierced through the gray. Below them, endless forest, frozen lakes, and somewhere far ahead, the faint outline of a military base. Elena adjusted the flaps manually, her hands moving instinctively. Every motion was muscle memory, from the woman who'd once been Falcon 1. The captain stared at her. "You're not just ex-Air Force, are you?" She didn't answer. Her gaze was fixed on the sky above, where the A-10 still circled, shielding them like a guardian beast. Then suddenly, the radio crackled one last time. "Hog 1 to Falcon. Multiple contacts inbound. They're coming for her. Get that plane on the ground." Elena's jaw clenched. She whispered, "They're not after the plane. They're after the drive." The co-pilot frowned. "What drive?" She looked down at the silver chip in her hand, glowing faintly, as the signal pulsed again. Inside it lay the coordinates of every black signal weapon ever tested, the secret she'd been carrying for 3 years. And now, the enemy knew exactly where she was, far behind them. Thunder rolled through the sky again. The shadow jet was returning, and it wasn't alone. 3 dark shapes broke through the clouds, moving fast, silent, coordinated predators. Elena tightened her harness. "Here they come." The captain's voice trembled. "What do we do?" Elena looked out the window, eyes blazing with defiance. "We fight back." The air was chaos. The F-16 pilots had exhausted every maneuver they knew. Sharp rolls, defensive dives, and flares bursting like orange comets in the sky. But the unidentified aircraft ahead of them refused to respond to radio calls, squawk codes, or interception signals. It was a rogue airliner, and inside Emma Brooks sat in the cockpit, gripping the controls with trembling hands. Her mind was locked between panic and instinct. The turbulence was wild. Warning lights blinked across the console like a Christmas tree gone mad. "Mayday, mayday. This is Flight 709, she repeated, voice cracking through the radio, but no one replied. Static consumed the frequency. Then, through the static, came a voice low and mechanical. "Flight 709, this is Thunder Lead. Hold your course. Help is inbound." Emma's eyes widened. Thunder Lead. That wasn't an F-16 call sign. Moments later, she saw it. A dark silhouette on the horizon, low and slow, yet menacingly steady. The unmistakable Barty echoed across the skies even before she could see the details. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, Warthog, had arrived. To most, it was a beast of war. To Emma, it was salvation wrapped in titanium armor. "Thunder Lead to all unit," came the voice again, calm but commanding. "I have visual on the civilian. Maintain distance. I'm taking point." The two F-16 pilots fell back, forming a protective triangle. The A-10 swung to the left of the rogue plane, its massive cannon gleaming under the afternoon sun. Emma could almost see the pilot, visor down, one gloved hand raised in a signal. Emma hesitated, then raised her trembling hand back. The A-10 pilot's voice returned. "Flight 709, we've got you. You're not alone. What's your status?" I'm alone in the cockpit," Emma managed, tears streaking her cheeks. Everyone else? They're unconscious. I don't know how to fly this thing." The radio went silent for a heartbeat. Then, "Copy that, Flight 709. Listen to me carefully. My name's Captain Ryan Cole, U.S. Air Force. We're going to bring you home." Something in his voice, the certainty, the calm under pressure, steadied her. For the first time in hours, she breathed properly. "Ryan," she whispered under her breath, "please don't let me fail." Ryan's A-10 adjusted position, aligning its flight path exactly with hers. "You're doing great, Emma. I've got your telemetry now. We're going to take it one step at a time." The two aircraft, one a wounded bird and the other a guardian beast, moved as one through the sky. The F-16s orbited above like hawks watching for threats. Down below, on the radar screens of NATO Command, controllers held their breath, watching a civilian pilot, barely trained, flying a crippled plane under the guidance of a war machine. Ryan's voice continued, slow and steady. "Adjust flaps 5 degrees. Good. Bring your throttle down to 70%. Perfect. You're flying better than half the cadets I've seen." Emma almost laughed. The first sound of hope in hours. But that hope was short-lived. The right engine sputtered again. Flames burst from the nacelle, trailing smoke across the blue sky. The A-10 dropped slightly, coming level with the engine. "Ryan," she cried. "It's on fire. I see it." "Don't panic," he said, his tone unshaken. "Cut fuel to engine 2. Keep your left steady. The plane can fly on 1. You can do this." She did as told, heart hammering in her chest. The plane bucked violently, but she kept her grip firm. "Beautiful," Ryan said softly. "Now we're gonna head for Ramstein Air Base. You're 20 minutes out. I'll stay with you till your wheels touch the ground." The moment felt unreal. A civilian guided by a combat pilot, an A-10 guarding a passenger jet like a mother protecting her young. Why are you helping me?" Emma asked through the static. "Because," Ryan said with a faint chuckle, "I've seen too many ghosts fall from the sky." "Not today," Emma smiled faintly. Then, from her left window, she saw something new. Another dot in the sky, fast approaching. The radio lit up again. "Thunder Lead, this is command. You have additional traffic inbound. Unidentified." Ryan's tone sharpened. "Copy. Emma, stay steady. Don't look away. You're doing perfect." But she couldn't help it. The dot grew larger. Another aircraft, no transponder, heading straight for them. Ryan's voice came again, this time colder, harder. "Command, confirm threat vector. Is this what I think it is?" The reply came seconds later. "Confirmed." "It's not friendly." Emma's breath hitched. The F-16s broke formation, moving to intercept. The A-10 rolled its wings, shifting to shield her plane. And then, the roar of engines filled the sky once more. The A-10 Thunderbolt, born for war, now stood as the only wall between Emma Brooks and disaster.